Horus Heresy 3.0 is inbound, and we are talking about Dreadnoughts. Dreadnoughts in 2.0 were amazing. They're crazy good, especially the Contemptor Dreadnoughts, because they're so good for their points. Everybody basically agrees they need to be tuned down a little bit. Now, that being said, I do like that they got scary, to a degree. They should be intimidating. It was really cool to see them do that. I kind of wish we could see them more as, like, they can clear out larger groups of, like, chaff enemy units, rather than, like, being super good at, like, absolutely crushing Terminators and, like, other Dreadnoughts and stuff like that. I feel like they are definitely going to get toned down in 3.0. Will they go back to armor value? If they did, I actually wouldn't mind that. I think it could still work fine. I do think that the armor penetration system and vehicle damage system needs to be tweaked a little bit, but that's a whole other video on its own. If you were to tweak it in a way that maybe I'm thinking, you could balance Dreadnoughts using that. But as it is right now, the big things that make Dreadnoughts so good are, there's a few. Let me see if I can list them off here off my memory. We got Weapon Skill 5, which is great defensively in close combat as well as offensively. Their Ballistic Skill is 5, so they're hitting on 2s with shooting. During Night Fight, they're hitting on 3s, which is pretty reliable gun platform. A lot of great return fire, Overwatch, Interceptor. They could get the Helical Targeting Array, which allowed them to intercept and get Skyfire, so they could shoot down flyers. Between that and the Augury Scanner, I mean, like, flyers basically disappeared from the game, but that's a whole other issue. We'll talk about that in another one. The Dreadnought has Strength and Toughness 7, and I'm talking about the Contemptor in this case. I think the toughness value thing is fine. They have 6 wounds for the Contemptor. I believe it's 7 for the Leviathan. And I will say the Leviathan is not as ridiculously good for its points as the Contemptor is, so there is that caveat. I think the big things that really do make it so good is the 2-up armor save. They have a 5+ invulnerable, which is pretty much default. That's what they've had before. And they blow up automatically. That's something that actually goes untalked about now that I think about it, is the fact they always explode. Strength 8 when they die. Vehicles don't do that. Like, why don't we roll a dice to see if they explode? They always explode. You want them in your enemy's face. So that's kind of crazy. But it's that 2+ armor. The 6 wounds, toughness 7. They have the weapon skill 5. And the other thing that makes them so good, they have decent, cheap weapon options. And their close combat Dreadnought Fist is Brutal 3. Brutal 3 is crazy. They just crush Terminators. They crush so many things with that Brutal 3. Like, it's crazy. So there's a few ways you could tune down the Dreadnought. Maybe it only goes down to Brutal 2. I just gotta point out here how a Dreadnought has Brutal 3, but an Imperial Knight Reaper Chainsword doesn't have Brutal at all. Think of how crazy that is. A giant chainsword the size of a building, but it's 1 hit, 1 wound, 1 kill. Done. There's no Brutal. There's no sweep attacks or whatever. It's just Brutal. Nope. So if a Dreadnought and Imperial Knight go up in close combat, and I'm pretty sure the Imperial Knights are only weapon skill 4, by the way, the Dreadnought wins. Like, the Dreadnought will kick a Knight's butt every single time. It's crazy. So there's definitely something really off going on there. Now, I'm thinking, what if you reduced the Dreadnought to a 3-up armor save? Crack missiles would make a comeback. AP3 would be more useful, but then maybe the Dreadnought dies a bit too much. I don't know. Like, it's so hard. There's so many ways it could go. Maybe it goes down to 3-up armor save and it gains a couple wounds. That could maybe work. I don't know. The other thing is that weapon skill. That's another video too, just talking about the weapon skill chart, because the weapon skill chart is crazy. It's so good defensively as well as offensively that it's like Terminators going up into combat with Dreadnoughts, they're hitting off 5s. Like, you have to have weapon skill 5 in this edition to be any good in close combat, because otherwise you're going to be hitting on 5s. So, I don't know. I think the weapon skill chart needs a tweak. That could affect Dreadnoughts balancing. If it went to vehicles, changing the way vehicles get damaged, that could affect. There's so many things that could affect it without even necessarily changing the rules on the Dreadnought itself. But something has to change. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. I also had an idea about what if crack missiles had, like, breaching 5-up? Because crack missiles seem like they're... Why would you take missile launchers when you could have las cannons? Las cannons are good against elite infantry. They're good against powered armored infantry. They're good against dreadnoughts. They're good against vehicles. They're good against everything. The only thing they're not good at is shooting down solar auxilia, like las rifle sections and militia troops. But at the same time, they are good at shooting them down. It's just they're super good at killing one guy at a time. That's really it. So make other weapons more useful. That could fix the balancing of dreadnoughts. You see what I mean? How everything just affects something else. There's like a domino, which is why balancing these games is hard. I don't actually think it can ever truly be balanced. Otherwise, you end up with homogenized games. Warhammer 40k has gone that direction. It's still not balanced, but it's losing that flavor because of it. I don't want my games balanced necessarily. But when you see something that needs to be tweaked, it should be tweaked. So what do you think? What's a good option here? What would you do to make Dreadnoughts more balanced?